Hey everyone, this is Zoshian with Eastside Network, and here with our second episode of Author Initiative. This month is a very special month. It's NaNoWriMo month. NaNoWriMo is an annual internet-based creative writing project that takes place during the month of November between November 1st and November 30th. Writers to compose a 50,000-word novel. Length of work is rated over quantity. Focusing on the first draft and saving edits for the future, it encourages for readers to get out to work in the basic form and then feel free to sharpen it later. It started in 1999 with 21 participants and built in 2010 over 200,000 people. Writers sign up on the project website and they can post their profiles, a synopsis of the book, information about their manuscripts, and validate word counts on the site. They also help in different ways, inspiring, and there's also region stuff where people get together, which brings in our guest John Bauer, and he is the municipal liaison for NaNoWriMo in the Bowling Green, Kentucky area, and thank you for joining us tonight, John.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Tell us a little about your experience with NaNoWriMo. How did you get involved with NaNoWriMo and becoming a municipal liaison?
Well, I guess I've known about NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, and I've known about it for a long time, but 3 years ago I decided to give it a try, and I actually already do know a lot of writers in the Bowling Green area, and many of them were doing it, so I had a really good experience with it. You know, people tend to take their own approach with how they're going to take advantage of NaNoWriMo. And when I was in that first year, I didn't actually follow the rules, you know. I wasn't working on a new novel, and I was revising, and I didn't keep my word count online. But I got to be good friends with the woman who was the municipal liaison at that time, and she invited me to join her as the municipal liaison the next year, so that was last year. This year I'm doing it by myself. According to the NaNoWriMo.org internet site right now, we have over 90 writers in the Bowling Green region who are active this year. We've had 4 or 5 write-in events, and I've met more than a dozen of the participants from the region. So it's been a great experience. I really enjoy meeting the writers, hearing from them in the online forums, and so forth. And I'm working on a brand new book. Last year I completed 50,000 words, and so people say they won when they did that. So I won NaNoWriMo last year, and right now I'm on pace. I've got about 7,800 words, hoping to win again this year.
Oh, I have to say congratulations right off the bat there.
Thanks.
I know for a fact 8 bestsellers have been wrote during the month of NaNoWriMo. The first draft of it. Water for Elephants by Sarah Gwynn, which was turned into a movie starring Reese Witherspoon and Robert Pattinson. The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, and also The Fangirl by Rainbow Roswell, Wool by Hugh Howey, The Darwin Elevator by Jason M. Home, and Sydney Scarlett and Cress by Marissa Meyer. That's, like I said, just 8 books I know of had started. Do you know of any other people's books that later on got published and stuff like that, John?
Well, I know that in the Bowling Green region, a lot of the writers self-publish, and I probably couldn't run through the names, but many of our writers in the Bowling Green region, their books are available on Amazon. They self-publish. Laramie Briscoe is a romance writer who has participated in NaNoWriMo and is very prolific. I tend to myself just sort of not be focused on the idea that somebody is going to write a bestseller or I'm going to write a bestseller, and it's more that I find writing exciting. I actually do write all year long, but in November I make a special effort on a special project. I think I really encourage everybody to write fiction or write creatively, however they want to. And NaNoWriMo is a great time to do it because you can meet other writers, you can go to the events, you can sort of get motivated by talking with people about what they're doing. I know one thing for me at the write-in events is that if other participants are nearby me and writing at the same time, I get self-conscious and I don't stare off into space, which is what I sometimes tend to do when I'm writing alone. And it's actually good for production for me. I get productive at the write-in events.
I think it's nice to hear about these. I know that one website said about 250 writers, not necessarily books, writers from NaNoWriMo have been published traditionally. I still say that's a very good number considering, yes, trying to shoot through a novel in 1 month, and you already covered. I mean, you guys have to write almost 2,000 words a day, pretty close to it, to meet that goal.
Yeah, the target amount is like 1,667 words a day. It's really, if you do 2,000 a day, maybe you can take a day off sometime during the month. But it's an intense experience. You've really got to write every day. You've got to buckle down. You've got to not get blocked, or if you get blocked, you've got to figure out how to get past it. It's pretty important that. For me, anyway, I constantly remind myself that I'm writing a first draft, and first drafts are allowed to be terrible because you're going to revise them later. The main thing is that, I'm telling the story. I'm telling the story that I want to tell.
That's two things that I struggle with is, for the longest time, it seemed like I could only write when I was in a good mood. And the more you go, the more you got to just try to pound something out. And the other one, of course, was I was trying to write perfectly the first time. And I've had a lot of humility among editors to find out that, no, I don't write perfectly the first time.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, it's... NaNoWriMo is a great experience. You get to write a first draft. You get to learn how to push yourself to write hard, to write to a deadline, to just keep going. It's a totally different experience to go back to your book in December and start to revise it.
Mm-hmm. I found a quote about NaNoWriMo by Hermione Sean from Scottsdale, Arizona. Forcing yourself to write a 50,000 words in 30 days is a bit like putting paint in a shotgun and pointing at a blank canvas. Something will stick, but there's a lot of cleanup. So, would you really describe it like that, John?
I think that's a very apt description of it. I know for me, if I come to a place, maybe it's a transition between scenes or something. I don't know exactly how to do it. All I know is some words go there. But if I'm getting hung up on it, I'll just, write a note to myself write in the manuscript and say this needs to be a transition between scenes, or this is where some character gets introduced and I need to describe that person. Maybe I haven't really thought it through yet. It's better to go on. It's better to go forward than to stop and try to figure these things out along the way.
What type of prep work do you do to get ready for NaNoWriMo?
This year, I started working on my preparation about 10 days before the 1st of November, and these words don't count, but I wrote what I called a Chapter 0, and Chapter 0 contained descriptions of some of my settings. It contained a character list with names and descriptions of some of the major characters. I haven't done this before, but I made a word list because I'm writing a young adult fantasy, and it's sort of about a specific set of circumstances, and there were certain words that I knew were going to be evocative under those circumstances, and so I wanted to just sort of give myself this list of words, and it's been interesting. It's been helpful in an interesting way. Sometimes when I'm not sure where to go next, I might even just pick a word out of that list and say, okay, this is going to be the key word of the next paragraph, and it can help me get through a spot.
So basically, I myself, like I said, I'm making a book too. Right now it's a sci-fi book, and I did a full chapter outline beforehand, which is helping me keep my pace and stuff like that, except when, like I said, recovering from being sick. Luckily, you do have a few days where you can cheat a little. So, so that's probably what we talked about. Is probably a good way to get ready for it, I'm guessing.
It's interesting. Some people like to outline, and some people have a lot of trouble with it. And in the NaNoWriMo world, it's common to hear people called either planners or pantsers, depending on which approach they have. And I find myself to be, I have this sort of philosophical idea that it would be great if I could write an outline, but I've tried numerous times and I just can't do it. I can outline a few chapters, and then I just start to feel like, well, I don't know where it's going to go then. I know what I'm leading up to. I know what kinds of things are going to happen during the story arc of this book, but I can't say in chapter 10 these things are going to happen, in chapter 11 these other things, or who's going to be the point of view narrator in that chapter, or what characters are going to be involved. And yet I do know people like you, though, who do outlines and are very successful with them, and it's a great method of preparation if you can make it work for yourself.
Yeah, I know one thing. You talking about notes and stuff, I definitely... one thing that's really helped me is I say OneNote online, because you can make sections and stuff like that, and then pages in those sections, and then you can outline or put notes or editors, notes for yourself and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
I think I've always started with some kind of outline, and yet been surprised at how sometimes a scene or a character will grow into some section of writing where, okay, that wasn't what I was planned, but that feels right. That's how it has to go. And so even my outlines have kind of loosened up the more I've written.
I think for me, I feel like the characters are the most important. Well, the story is the most important, but the characters are who are carrying the story on their backs. And so for me, it's more important to understand my characters well and to be able to sort of deploy them flexibly where I need them.
Mm-hmm. Are y'all, other than write-ins, do y'all plan any special things during the month for people? Like, I don't know, like towards the end or towards the beginning? What do I usually do?
Sometimes, well, of course, we have write-ins through the month. There have been in this region. There have been 4 this week and 4 next week. A lot of times we do a prep party, like on October 30th. We didn't do one this year, but a prep party right before the beginning of NaNoWriMo, and then a lot of times a thank God it's over party. Like on December 2nd. We'll probably do that. I know.
Mm-hmm. So it's
sure if we
a
were
good socializing event too for people, basically.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether people were gonna want to socialize with each other, but now I found that people have been really enthusiastic about the write-ins, and so I think we will. We will have a thank God it's over party at the end.
I think that's very helpful professionally too.
Maybe even to share some of the stuff they wrote, even though it is a first draft. Who knows?
A lot of people like to talk about it, but I imagine just a little help even from peers. Last time I ran into another author, we had an interesting discussion just about how we did covers that was very enlightening to me. Some of the other options that were out there that I didn't know. And I'm sure a lot of people after a project like this, I think it's good to have fellow writers to talk to that might help inspire ideas or maybe help take them professionally in a new direction.
I think you're exactly right, and I have to say I love meeting other writers and I love talking with them, and really it's one of the reasons that I got involved with NaNoWriMo in the first part, because like I said, I write all year long, but I don't have that many opportunities to meet people who like to write, and I always find them to be interesting people. And from a professional point of view, if you want to network with other writers, then even just finding them can be the hard part, because writers tend to be introverted type people who are keeping to themselves, and you don't even know who's living in the same town with you. So it's great for that. It's great for networking.
Yeah. That's one thing I've been trying to find more than anything is networking, where to help people and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to try to take advantage of that. Definitely. Everyone, if you want some more information on NaNoWriMo, you can go to NaNoWriMo.org. Also, John has his local page, Facebook page, and they're also on Facebook, but John also has his local page for Bowling Green area where you can find the events and all that going on. If you'd like to tell us what it is.
Yes, if you're in the Bowling Green region, you'd like to look us up, just on Facebook, search NaNoWriMo Bowling Green and ask to be added, and I'll add you right away.
So we're also looking at some things that we found out on the web that are suggestions for writers trying to get through NaNoWriMo. Some of these are just really good suggestions for any kind of long writing sessions, I think. And feel free to jump in and interrupt me here as I go through them. First one says, stay confident, keep positive outlooks. If your worry and your shame can easily steal your vigor to write. So remember that even if you don't hit the 50,000 words, it'll still boost you closer to a finished novel. They also say try to write extra when you can and plan for catch-up days, because obviously we have some days in November, like Thanksgiving, that might miss a day, so just write even if you're not in the mood. Another one, as we're discussing now, there are many local NaNoWriMo communities exist to encourage you. You join one, you can feel like you're going at it with a team, and plus might make for good network building among professionals later on.
Yeah, if you go to NaNoWriMo.org, and one of the options on the top menu is find a region, and based on where you live, it'll show you, who's in NaNoWriMo in your same area.
And here's another one I think helps a lot of people that I need more too. Plan the time in your routine. Make it a part of your schedule.
I put my writing times right into my Outlook calendar, and I pretty much made a rule for myself this year that when I'm doing it, I'm not allowing myself to do anything else. I'm not allowing myself to look at Facebook. I just, I have to eliminate all distractions. In fact, I literally sometimes use a computer that's not connected to the internet just to keep me focused on what I'm doing.
Yeah, I've done that in the past too. Well, I had a laptop that for some reason the Wi-Fi broke on it. I had to use a USB to attach to the internet. I would unplug that thing.
Yeah.
Here's of course, don't get held up on editing and rereading. This is just get the words out there. Smoothing it out will come later.
Yeah, you're writing a first draft. It's important to remind yourself you're writing a first draft. You're not writing a final draft. And I tend to not even reread the chapters that I've already written. I know they're sketchy. I know they need a lot of work. If I go back, I'll just be replacing one word with another word. It doesn't increase your word count, which is very important during NaNoWriMo. So just keep on going to the next page and the next chapter.
Yep. Here's what I found interesting. It talked about using prompts, such as a Twitter account called @NanoWordSprints, and it gave a example like quotes, next sprint will be from 15 to 30. Optional prompt is throw a curve, unquote.
Yes, the word sprints are, some people really love to do them. It gives you an incentive to just charge ahead and get as many words down as you can. And, the prompts might or might not, cause you to feel something. I saw a prompt the other day that was have one character explain a plot hole to another character. So, if you're worrying about some story element that doesn't seem to put together correctly, have one character explain it to another. Maybe it'll solve something.
Here's another good one. Take breaks, especially if you hit a wall. Hitting a speed bump in the writing just means you need to get up, take a break, get some exercise, and refresh. Now there's another one, and I think this probably is better off before the month rather than during, but it's like maybe charging up with some movies or a show from the genre you're writing for inspiration.
Yeah, even during the month, you gotta allow yourself some entertainment time, and that's why I write. I put my writing time into my calendar, and then if I'm not planning to write during a certain time, I don't feel guilty if I'm doing something else. And a lot of people really find that they need to sort of be entertained or be exposed to something or have the chance to read, even though they're spending a lot of time writing during the month.
Yeah, I know how that is, having to need a break from something. Hence why I have a PS4.
Oh.
And Call of Duty, World War II right now.
Well, here's some more, two more to finish it off. One is, at the end of the writing, have ideas on where it is going next, like maybe leaving a few sentences or a small outline to easily pick up where you left off and continue the flow of ideas later.
Right. I try never to stop at the end of a chapter, but begin the next chapter and then stop.
And the last little thing I have here is, any author might plan and anticipate, but if the story seems to want to grow a certain direction, let it. The story's whim may be exactly the wild seed it needs to grow into the mind of the reader as well.
And that again gets into planners versus pantsers. If you outline a lot, you might have trouble fitting something like that in. But boy, I totally agree with that, and I feel you should fix your outline at that point. Go with where the story is telling you to go.
Well, I have to say I already done that once, where I had to fix my outline after a certain point, and I'm like, oh, but it's an easy change. I'm dreading if I find a major change, but yeah, but I definitely understand that. John, before we leave and everything, do you have any last advice or anything you'd like to promote or anything?
My best advice that I give to other writers is show up at the page. Show up at the page and everything will take care of itself.
That's definitely something I should do more too. Like I say, I looked at the last short novel I wrote, realized it was 43,000 words, right under Nano, but I spent about at least a year and a half at that. Be nicer if I could commit to myself even more time to make that happen a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, thank you for coming on, and everyone. This is Zoshian with Thaman, and also John Bowerman with Geekside Network's Author Initiative. Please like, favorite, and subscribe to our channel, Geekside Network, and for more episodes of this. And also look at our Facebook page, GSN Geekside. If y'all for more information and everything else. Thank y'all again, and we will see y'all soon.